So I'd like to ask two near impossible questions to answer, and then we'll call it a day. The first of which, and this will not represent your most favorite books because that's impossible. It's cruel, particularly for you, Sara. How many angry emails do you want to get that you didn't pick my book? But assuming that all books from Inspired Quill are off the table, any author you've worked with can't be part of the answer. What would you say are three of your most favorite books? Not necessarily the most favorite, but three very much toward the top.
Do you want to go first, Dorothy?
Sure. My favorites change all the time, but there would always be a Jane Austen book in there. You know, one of them, changing over time. My favorite, a book, you know, when you said name your favorite book, my immediate thought went to Megan Whalen Turner's The Thief, which is a young adult fantasy novels. It's a series. I think there are 6 books, and she just finished. And those books have been sold to Disney Plus to be made into, you know, movies, I guess, TV show, whatever. And I just really admire The Thief, the first book in that series. It's in first person, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it just. I just really enjoy it. And so a third one, what would it be? Boy, I don't know. It changes all the time. What have I read lately that I really like? I don't know. Because sometimes what I've read lately is just picking from what I've read lately is not a good idea, I would say. You know, there have been some good books in there. But you know, you have to stand the test of time in my bookshelf to be one of my favorite books. I don't know. Sorry, you talk for a while, Sara.
I'll talk. So I think one of them has to be Jane Eyre. Is one of my favorites. And yeah, like Dorothy says, it changes quite often. I remember one of the first books I ever read was by Jack London. It was White Fang. Well, it was technically Call of the Wild and White Fang that they'd sort of stuck into one book. So for the longest time, I thought the book was called Call of the Wild, White Fang. So
better title, honestly.
Yeah, right. And then definitely something by probably the most influential book in my life was, or short story rather, was The Smallest Dragon Boy by Anne McCaffrey, because that started me on the path I'm on now. Effectively, I can trace back pretty much my entire literary life to that short story, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there you go. Jane Eyre, Call of the Wild, White Fang, and The Smallest Dragon Boy by Anne McCaffrey.
Dorothy, I assume you realize your third book is Banneker Bones and the Cyborg Conspiracy, available today, esteemed audience.
Exactly. What was I thinking? It was that. I like your shirt, Rob. I really like your shirt.
Thank you very much.
Like your merch.
For those of you listening, instead of watching, I'm repping, as usual, a Banneker Bones, just shameless. I have Banneker Bones clothing. I make sure I wear it on the show. It also makes things easy ahead of a podcast. Like, what will I wear? The same thing I always wear. I've got a collection of book shirts. It's going to be one of those. One less decision I have to make. So no real answer. What did you come up with for a third favorite?
Oh, I just glanced at my bookshelves and settled on Rachel Kane's Prince of Shadows, which is a retelling. I know these are all odd choices, except for Jane Austen. It's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet from the point of view of Benvolio, and it's very entertaining. Rachel Kane just died a few months ago, so tribute to her, Rachel Kane's Prince of Shadows.